The movie begins with a wave of energy moving across the surface and the clouds whirling up, forming a cyclone that touches down on the Earth's surface, forming a gigantic black orb, destroying everything in its path. This illustrates what happened 30 years ago when a massive space quake devastated the center of Eurasia, resulting in an incredible 150 million deaths. This continued in numerous locations across the globe. Isuka Kotori dances in the excitement in her brother's room, showing us some rather graphic scenes of her underwear. She then jumps on his bed in an attempt to wake him up. He pleads with her to get off the bed and let him sleep, but instead, she jumps and stamps into his belly. He covers his head with his blanket, but she insists he wake up, pulling him back and forth. He then scares her off with a threat to infect her with the T-virus if she doesn't let him sleep for 10 more minutes. She gets scared and runs for cover after he begins to act like a zombie. He walks in on her hiding behind a chair and scares her a little more, after which he calms her down. Being a great big brother, he makes her a healthy breakfast while she watches the news on another one of the many space quakes in the area. He says a thing or two about the space quakes. Kotori comments under her breath. He rushes to her to pull out the lollipop she's having before breakfast. She refuses to let go and he eventually gives in and lets her enjoy her candy as long as she finishes it before having breakfast. He asks her what she would love for lunch, and she requests the deluxe kids lunch, which can only be had in a diner. He initially says no, but she pleads with him and he eventually agrees. They walk off to school together and Kotori cannot stop talking about the deluxe kids lunch. They agree to meet outside the diner immediately after school, and Kotori makes him promise to meet her outside the diner no matter what. Some girls see them talking and are somewhat irritated by their level of closeness. Again, Kotori says he must meet her outside the diner even if there's a space quake. She then takes off, but as he waves her goodbye, his hand is grabbed from behind by his friend Tanamachi. The girls still standing in the distance talk about Tanamachi also and him being bisexual. One of them spot Taubiki Origami hiding in the shadows, watching the boys. Tanamachi tells Shido that they are fated to be together since they are in the same class again. He also shows Shido his girlfriend, who is a dating simulation. As they speak, Taubichi walks in, interrupts them, and calls his name. He is surprised she knows him and doesn't have a clue who she is. Itsuka is about leaving school when the siren goes off. Another space quake is about to hit the town. The city shifts into lockdown mode as everyone makes their way down to the shelter. He tries to reach Kotori, but to no avail, so he tracks her GPS and finds out she is in front of the diner. He runs desperately to try to go rescue her, but before he can reach the diner, the spacequake explodes, catching him off guard. In the center of the spacequake is a celestial-looking being. She approaches him and stretches her sword toward him. The ASD attacks her with missile strikes, which she uses her force field as a shield, and an intense battle begins. One of the soldiers is locked in a 1v1 against this being, and when Itsuka sees her, to his greatest surprise is Taubiki Origami. They battle intensely until the being disappears. Caught in the crossfire, Itsuka is knocked out, but while he is under, he hears a voice telling him to wait a little longer and to never let him go. He wakes up to Murasaem Reen, the analysis officer. She explains to him that he is aboard Fraxinus' sick bay. Trying to recall the incident, he remembers his baby sister. Murasaem says she is safe, and that the commander will answer all questions he has. He meets the vice commander, and he is shell-shocked to see his baby sister Kotori as commander of the ship. Tabichi returns, drained and exhausted. She removes her gear and almost collapses when she is caught by Captain Kusakabe. Kotori begins explaining to Itsuka about the spirit they fought against, the reasons for the space quakes, and the anti-spirit team AST. She also tells him about his training, which surprises him. Kotori blames him for coming back, but he argues that her GPS showed she was at the diner. Kotori then reveals that the ship is directly above the diner and that she wasn't there in actuality. The following day at school, Murasaem is introduced to the class as the assistant homeroom teacher. Meeting up later, Murasaem explains she is taking up the new role so she can be close to Shido if there is an emergency. She then explains his role in the whole plan to him. Before leaving school, Shido runs into Taubichi. She tells him not to say anything to anyone. He asks about the spirit, and she tells him why she must kill them because she lost her parents 5 years ago because of a spirit. The next morning, Tabichi sees the replay of her parents' death and wakes up with her heart pounding. Meanwhile, Murasaem inputs a communication device into Shido's ear as they proceed to test the technology. He is being trained to make the spirit fall in love with him. It begins with him trying to use his wooing skills on his teacher. He compliments her but doesn't know where to stop, and things quickly turn from charming to creepy. Following suggestions being passed to him over the communication device, Murasaem tells him to repeat after her. Following her cue, he says some really sweet things to her and says he wants to marry her. This makes her crazily excited, and she begins to spew out a lot of nonsense. Murasaem had given him the most effective lines against a single 29-year-old. After completing their objectives, he is instructed to apologize and make a run for it. While making a beeline for class, he bumps into Tabichi and they both fall. This gives us a rear glimpse at her underwear. He is then instructed to ask her out. She agrees to be his girlfriend and passes him a photo of herself in uniform. Suddenly, the siren goes off, signaling an incoming spacequake. Tabichi runs to join the AST. The city shifts into lockdown mode and everyone moves to the shelters, but Shido is instructed to go talk to her. They believe his weeks of training have prepared him adequately, and he also wants to get to understand her and the expression she gave when they first met. Kotori has put together a team of relationship experts to give advice and suggestions to help him in his quest, reaching the class where the princess attacks him continuously with strikes as he tries to break her down with his words. They go back and forth trying to introduce each other. Shido puts his gentleman's skills to work, making a conversation and gaining her trust, even swearing with his life not to reject her. She admits she does not have a name and asks him to name her. He names her Tom, but she rejects the name. He then names her Toka, which she likes and agrees to. He then asks her to go on a date with him. This is rather new to her, but she eventually agrees to it. The ASD shoots at her repeatedly, not knowing Shido is there. The captain halts the attack when she notices Shido, but seeing him close to the spirit sends Tabichi into a rage. Tabichi rushes in with her sword and attacks Toka. There is an explosion from the slash of swords and everything settles down afterwards. Tabichi is injured, strapped to a stretcher, and carried to the ship. Shigo is having a look around the next morning and notices Taka calling him. She is eager to go on their date, but first Shido has her change into a uniform to blend in. They both get into the city. Shigo begins buying her a lot of food as she is obsessed and can't help herself. He begins asking some questions, but she is uninterested and just wants to eat some more. They get to a diner which is very expensive and Shido cannot afford it. Tanamechi passing by taunts him for going out with a pretty girl without him knowing about it. He gives Shido some money he claims a stranger passed to him. He says goodbye and walks away. Toka and Shido get a seat and get ready to place an order, and to his surprise, Shido finds Rain and Kotori serving in the dinner. Kotori offers them the special overkill course. This makes Toka very happy as she eats everything placed before her. Kotori then instructs Shido to take her south as she has something prepared for them to help increase the chances of Taka falling in love with Shido. Going south, they get to a fun fair which was set up by Kotori. They are given an all-you-can-eat service which makes Toka excited. She rushes in and tries a lot of food. Although she gets worried that Shido is not having fun, he tells her he is having fun and is just being a bit upright. It makes her happy that they are both having fun and having a real date. They play a game together and win free tickets to the dream park. But Shido refuses to let them go into the dream house. Tabichi, monitoring them, puts on an emergency battle gear. Shigo and Taka enter into a game shop where they try to win a doll. We've all had that moment where that soda or that candy doesn't fall from the vending machine. Well, here they had one of those and Taka had to plead with the toy to fall, and guess what? It did. The pair walk off to the park to conclude the day, and all the while she can't place a finger on what a date means, so Shido explains to her. Still lurking, Tabichi holds a long-range sniper rifle and targets Toka, after which she gets clearance to snipe. Taka admires humanity and finally understands why the mech team tries so hard to destroy her. She suggests not coming back to Earth might be a better option, but Shido insists she stays and offers her an option to stay with him. She argues the mech team and other people might not accept her, but Shido says that is more reason for him to accept her more. He asks for her hand and she blushes, but just before they both connect, Shido perceives that something is wrong and tries to get her out of the way. Tabichi takes the shot and the bullet tears through the doll, hitting Shido. Origami is in shock at what she has just done and can barely move. Taka covers his body in sadness, and that sadness quickly turns into a rage, summoning her armor, Adonai Melech, and her sword Sandalphon, merge it with its gigantic sheath in Halvan Helev. She then slashes at Origami repeatedly. Shido is healed and wakes up at the critical moment, all according to Kotori's master plan. Just as Taka breaks through Tabichi's defense shield and she's about to land the finishing blow, Shido falls from the sky and Taka rushes to him and catches him. It all seems to calm down, but the Halvan Helev is in a critical state and needs to be released somewhere. Kotori tells Shido to try the Sunfire way to save a princess she taught him. He was embarrassed but had to ask her to kiss him. Taka didn't know what a kiss was, so Satori had to explain to her. Before he could finish, Taka rushed and kissed him. This somehow suppressed the power surging in the Halvan Helev. It breaks to pieces and her armor goes off as well. One day, as Satori walks back home from school in the rain, he sees a little girl who, while trying to run, slips and falls. He rushes to her to pick her up, but she moves away into a corner, asking Satori not to touch or hurt her. He then helps her pick up her doll and gives it to her. This doll is a puppet that she used to apologize and appreciate Shido for his help. Also made a joke about Shido touching her stitches and being a pervert. Later at school, Taka made cookies in class and brought them to Satori's class and tried to convince him to take a bite. Tabichi walks into the class and apologizes to Shido for what she has done to him. After apologizing, she also presented cookies to Satori. The ladies try to give reasons why theirs is better, but Shido just picks from one of each and eats both at the same time. He complimented them both. Tanamachi comes in and also offers Shido some cookies as he cannot give them to his AI girlfriend. On getting into the house, Shido takes his clothes off and tries to enter the bathroom, but Taka is unclad and having her bath, so she shouts and kicks him out. Satori asks why Taka is in their house, and Kotori says it's been decided that she will be living with them. Rin speaks from the kitchen, and he is also shocked that she is in their house. Kotori and Rin explain to Shido that Toka had lost her spirit powers when they kissed. They tell them that she is not the only spirit, and that he will still need to continue to practice conversing with girls so he can keep conversing with spirits for them. Kotori makes him go to change the bulb in the toilet, only to run into Toka in the toilet, and again he gets kicked out. Toka is finally out with them in the restroom, so Shido proceeds to use the tub and have his bath, just when he begins to enjoy the calm of the water around him. Taka jumps into the tub and almost strangles him to death. At school, Shido is joined by Toka and Tabichi at lunchtime. Tabichi is angry that Shido is eating the same food as Toka, so she begins an argument and doesn't even give Shido the chance to defend himself. The emergency alarm goes off and everyone begins to evacuate to the underground shelters. Shido leaves Toka in his teacher's care. Shido and Rin leave in a hurry. The spacequake brings the hermit spirit, which was the little girl Shido met in the rain. The AS state attacks the spirit, trying to take her out, but Shido asks to be allowed to help her, which is exactly what Kotori wanted to hear. Kotori instructs the crew to prepare a level 1 capture for her. The hermit AM Yoshinan is cornered in a building with the AST at the entrance. Shido meets Yoshinan in the building and begins communicating with the doll. The doll recognizes him as the lucky pervert. The crew from the ship stops Shido from talking and votes for what line of action to take next. After being instructed, Shido makes a funny joke and Yoshinan likes it. Shido introduces himself and Yoshinan introduces herself as Yoshinan. Shido makes the mistake of asking what the name of the puppet is. This makes her angry, but in time, and he redeems the situation by confirming Yoshinan's name as Yoshinan. This brings on a lighter mode and makes Yoshinan smile. Then Shido abruptly asks Yoshinan to go on a date with him. Worried sick, Taka troubles the teacher watching her. The teacher gets distracted and she runs off. Back at the building, Yoshinan climbs on some bars and Shido tries to get her down. Yoshinan falls from the top and Shido rushes to go catch her, but she lands on him, their lips touching in a kiss. Embarrassed, Yoshinan picks herself up and apologizes when Shido is told of an emergency. Taka arrives at the scene angry and in a rage to see Shido kiss Yoshinan. The situation looks bad and is only amplified by Yoshinan saying Shido has grown tired of her and calling Toka a nuisance. Taka grabs Yoshinan's puppet and strangles it, telling it not to insult her any further. Yoshinan begs Toka for her doll, but she refuses. Shido also begs Toka to give the doll back. Yoshinan gets angry and summons an angel, Zadkiel, who looks like a rabbit with the head of a shark that shoots ice spikes. With Yoshinan riding on it, it breaks through the window of the building and is immediately attacked by the AST. It released a cloud of snow and vanished in it. The team calls off the attack and returns to base. Shido knocks repeatedly, trying to explain himself to her, but she tells him to go away and that he is an idiot. Taka goes out with Rin for dinner and Rin brings up talk about Shino and the occurrence, but Taka is reluctant to talk about it. Rin insists and eventually has her talk about how she feels. Rin helps clear the air on the kiss was an accident and Shino does not value another lady more than her. Shino, on the other hand, goes looking for Yoshinan and finds her searching for her doll among some garbage. Shino offers to help go look for it, but just before they leave, she says her name is not Yoshinan but Yoshino. They look for Yoshinan together, and while at it, Yoshino gets hungry. Shido takes Yoshino home and makes her some food. Yoshino says she likes Yoshinan because he is everything she wants to be, calling herself weak, a coward, and afraid, but Shido tells her he likes her just the way she is, which makes her blush. He serves her the meal and she is blown away by how good it is. Yoshino explains her connection with Yoshinan and how much she needs him. Shido promises to help her find Yoshinan. He apologizes for the earlier kiss. While trying to explain what a kiss is to her, Taka walks in and completely misinterprets the situation. Kotori tells him they've found the location of Yoshinan. It is none other than Tabichi Origami. Getting into her place, the network gets jammed and Shido is disconnected from Kotori. Tabichi welcomes him and offers him some tea, which knows him down. She sits on him as if in a sex position and refuses to get off unless he agrees to address her as origami. He does, and she gets off. She then goes to take a shower, and this allows Shido to search for Yoshinan, which he eventually finds lying on a shelf. Origami comes out of the shower with only a towel on her. She moves suggestively close to Shido, and he takes the opportunity to ask her about her hatred for spirits and if she feels there are any good spirits. She recalls how her parents were killed by spirits without getting the chance to ask if they were good or bad, and the impact of spacequakes that come with the spirits. An emergency buzzer comes on, and Origami has to leave for battle. Yoshino is being attacked by the AST and is eventually forced to use Zadkiel at the last minute. The snow beast covers the city in frost, and the battle becomes intense. Taka spots Yoshino in battle and steps outside. Shido brings Yoshinan to Yoshino, but while she is disoriented, Zadkiel blasts at Shido, and he is only saved by a forceful summon of Toka's power. Shido asks for Toka's help to save Yoshino, explaining to her that she is a spirit and has no one else to help her. The ASD can't find a way through to attack Yoshino. Tabichi uses power no one knows. She has to raise a building trying to break the protective blizzard of ice around Yoshino, but the building is shattered by Toka's blade, and they both get locked in battle. Shido forces himself through the blizzard shield, almost killing himself in trying to take Yoshinan to Yoshino. He comforts Yoshino, and she thanks him for helping save Yoshinan. Shido then requests a kiss from Yoshino, and this, like it did with Taka, suppresses the power surge in Zadkiel and sends Yoshino into a human state. Shido, Toka, and Yoshino come home together, and Shido is welcomed with a punch to his guts from Kotori. She bursts into tears, saying she feared the worst for his safety when he went into the blizzard. The ASD is being attacked by a spirit. Shido calls Kotori and tells her her plans to take Yoshino and Toka to the Tengu Gokuraku hot springs. Kotori contemplates joining them for the trip to the hot spring. Shido, Toka, Yoshino, and Rin head to the hot spring together. Passing by a shop, they find Kotori, and Shido invites her to join them. In the Tengu garrison, the commander of the AST is being scolded by a general for their recent losses and inability to deal with spirits, and informs her of the deployment of very capable mages that can handle spirits. She also receives lashes from her mom for being single at almost 30. Her pressure is relieved when one of her soldiers brings her news of their trip to Tengu Gokuraku hot springs to help her cool down and take a break. She breaks the news to the other soldiers, and they cheer in excitement, but not Tabichi. She objects and would rather spend her spare time training. Driving to the hot spring, Shido pats Yoshino's head and tells her not to get roadsick since it's probably her first time in a car. Taka gets jealous and wants Shido to do the same to her, but he has a seatbelt strapped on and cannot get to her. In anger, she stamps her feet on the base of the car and breaks through it, strikes the ground, and destroys the road, collapsing the subway and landing on the train which is carrying the AST. Not long after Shido and the gang arrive, the AST also arrive at the hot spring, but Kotori's command crew, led by Captain Bad Marriage, instead of alerting Shido, decides to handle the AST themselves. They set up defenses against the AST and several obstructions to their path. The command crew makes the city into an obstacle course full of booby traps. While on the move, Shido spots Kotori hiding in a shop while trying to follow them secretly. She gets an emergency call and is informed of the turn of events. She tells the crew to do everything necessary to halt the AST. The crew raises hell on the AST like in an all-out war assault. They refuse to go down so easily and fight back. A missile hits Shido's team, and Yoshino loses Yoshinan and breaks into a cry that makes everywhere start getting frozen. Shido takes off to find the doll. Captain Kusakabe loses it and blasts all her ammo at the empty buildings. She commands her soldiers to open fire and also empty theirs. Crazy, right? Well sees the ruckus and runs along trying to find the doll. He finally finds Yoshinan, but before he can say banana, a gigantic fruit bomb falls on him. Taka sees the bomb about to hit Shido, protects him with a shield, and then disappears to the others with him. Turns out Shido and the guys went to a hot spring dubbed by the vice commander. Origami and Second Lieutenant Takamiya are engaged in a sparring match. Origami thinks she has her, but Takamiya checkmates her and wins the duel. Scolds them for destroying some equipment in their mock battle. While watching a play on the screen, Takamiya sees Shido and calls him brother. Origami meets her later and asks her if Shido is her brother, also saying that she and Shido are lovers. Shido helps Taka fix her bra. Yoshino and Yoshinan both sneak up on them and spot them in a suggestive position. Yoshino denies seeing anything, but Yoshinan tries to tease them both. Shido class receives a new transfer student. She introduces herself as Tokisaki Kurumi and openly says she is a spirit. Tanamashi offers to show her around, but she walks to Shido and picks him to show her around. Analyzing Tokisaki, Kotori and her crew find that Tokisaki is no ordinary spirit. but a malign one whose spacequake has killed over 10,000 people. Kotori is given the task of making her fall in love with him before the AST gets involved. Shido shows her around while trying to get her to like him with Kotori's help. Takasaki is quite the pervert and tries to show Shido her panties. He freaks out and changes the topic to her earlier statement about being a spirit. She says she knows he is not a novice to spirits and gets close enough to kiss him. In the last minute, Toka and Origami fall from inside a locker and interrupt the pair. They are jealous of Shido and Tokisaki holding hands. Some thugs try to harass Tokisaki, but she lures them into a corner, and they pay the ultimate price. Takemiya shows up on the scene, adding a unique twist to the plot. She finds Shido walking home with Toka and hugs him, calling him Big Brother. Shido takes her home where she meets everyone. So apparently, Shido was adopted and Takemiya might be his sister. She shows Shido and Kotori Alaka having their picture together as kids and says she has little memory of them or their parents. Kotori has a little back and forth with her about who is better, a natural sister of an adopted one, but Kotori escapes the debate and asks to meet Takemiya's guardians. She also escapes the question and leaves afterward. The next day at school, Tokisaki doesn't show up and her absence is noticed while reading the register. As the guys try to assume a reason for her absence, she steps in saying she was sick on her way to school. Shido gets a text to meet in the physics preparation room during lunchtime. There, Rin and Kotori uncover a clip of Takemiya transforming into an ASD soldier and killing Tokisaki, who is in her spirit form. Origami confronts Tokisaki, who uses her powers to get her pinned to the wall and tells her how badly she wants Shido. The next day, Shido offers to show Tokisaki around the city. She sees it as a date and is excited about it. They schedule to meet up the following day at 10 o'clock. Origami spots them together and tries to find out what he is talking about with her, but he doesn't budge and runs along. Shido and Taka walk home together. On reaching home, Taka goes into a seductive display, tricking Shido into a date for 10:30 the next day, which is already booked with Tokisaki. Not so surprisingly, Origami calls and tells him they should meet up the following day at 11 o'clock a.m. Shido is in a mess. Kotori and her command crew intervene and help him set a timer to help him successfully go on a date with all three girls at almost the same time. Taka shows up first and they go to the aquarium together. Shido suddenly fakes a stomach issue and pretends to run to the restroom. Kotori has him teleported to the ship and then to the Tengu station where he meets Tokisaki. Kotori and the crew pick the lingerie shop as the best place for him to take her since she comfortably showed him her panties some days before. He's embarrassed but goes on with the plan. She puts on a lingerie he picks and comes out wearing it, which sends the alarm buzzing and gives him a chance to escape again. He is retrieved and sent to another location where he meets Origami, who already has tickets to see a movie. They go grab a bite first and he sees Toka through the glass, which prompts him to run for it, telling Origami he needs to use the restroom. He goes to Toka, who is hungry, takes her to another diner, and leaves her eating. Shido interchanges his location, trying to satisfy all three ladies at once. This doesn't go without a little hand from Yoshino too. Toka and Origami eventually bump into each other and both find out they are on a date with Shido at the same time. Origami thinks about a possible third date and runs to find Shido. Returning to where he left Tokisaki and not finding her, wanders into the forest where he experiences a scene from a horror movie firsthand. Tokisaki has killed some boys messing with a cat, spilling their blood everywhere. This sends Shido into a panic attack as he becomes weak and can barely move his body. She kills the last boy in front of him and says she messed up. Her secret is out, and this means she has to execute her plans for Shido PS, which just might be to eat him. Well before she could finish her grande speech, his baby sister Mana shows up in her armor. Mana kills Tokisaki for the 1,000 and something time, obviously knowing she will come back to life. Shido is concerned she killed someone so calmly. Shido gets back to Toka and Origami. They notice he is injured, but the PTSD from what he just witnessed doesn't let him allow Toka to touch him, and he tries to run away. Kotori retrieves him to the ship and treats his wound, telling him not to give up and continue his mission on Tokisaki. He returns home to Toka, who is waiting for him, and takes him back to the places they had their first date. He tries to apologize, but Rin already explained to her. She encourages him not to give up on Tokisaki as she is just a spirit like her. At school the next day, Kurumi meets Shido, telling him she is surprised he didn't miss school for the day. He tells her his decision to stop her from killing people and to stop Mana from killing her. She then tries to test his words and attack students at the school. Mana shades Kotori for being a bad sister, sending Shido into danger, which could get him killed. Kotori also shades Mana for working for the Deus Ex Machine Industries, almost tell her they are slowly killing her when a call on what's happening at the school comes in. Like using a domain expansion, something from Jujutsu Kaisen, everyone at school is weakened by Kurumi's powers except for Shido because he has Toka and Yoshino's spiritual powers locked inside him. Kurumi invites Shido to meet her on the rooftop. Joining her, she explains the power of her angel, which is her clock-like left eye, and how killing people is to extend her lifespan so she doesn't run out and die. She then tells Shido to take his words on saving her back, else she will summon a space quake and kill everyone at school. Shido is told she's afraid and exploits it. He stands at the edge of the railings and threatens to kill himself if she doesn't stop the space quake. She thinks he's bluffing as dares him to. He jumps off, but she swoops in and catches him. He threatens to bite his tongue, killing himself if she does not call off the space quake. She budges and stops it. He also demands she let the school go, which she does. He adds that she allows him to help her start anew. Just before she can accept his offer, she is killed by a version of herself, and as she tries to lay a hand on Shido, Mana cuts her hand off. She summons her angel Zafkiel, and I could swear she is the big sister of Shaltir Bloodfallen from Overlord, but oh well. She shoots herself, restoring her hand, and the real battle begins. She is far more powerful than Mana this time and almost kills her. Origami, who used an emergency armor, shows up alongside Toka, who has some of her power released trying to save Shido. Kurumi summons her multiple selves from different time frames and has everyone surrounded. She summons the space quake and is about to kill everyone when someone wipes her off with magic. It is Kotori in her spirit form. She summons her Kamale. Although strong, Kurumi is no match for Kotori, and it takes Shido getting himself in the line of fire to save her. He wakes up at the ship's hospital with Yoshino and Toka by his bed. Rin comes in to comfort him, giving him updates on everyone and taking him to Kotori. Shido questions her on her powers, and she says she was born a human but developed spirit powers 5 years ago. He remembers her in a flame from a dream he had one time, but she has no memory of why and how she got her powers. She tells him her story and how she decided to save spirits. She tells him she regained 100% of her powers and would need him to lock her powers so she can remain human. This means he would have to date his sister, make her fall in love with him, and kiss her, which is insane. Taka wakes up and looks for Shido, and when she finds him walking down the hallway, she tries to talk to him, but he is sad and walks away without even turning back. Shido gets to the entrance of the house, but just before he goes inside, Taka runs to him with snacks she got to make him feel better, but he rejects them. He smiles and tells her he is already better. Toka enjoys the snack. Later, he goes to the hospital to visit Mana, but isn't given access to see her. Origami walks in and sees him. They sit together, and he explains to her that Mana is in a special treatment area where no one is allowed in. He sits with her for a little while, but as he is about to leave, Origami falls down and has him carry her on his back to her bed. He also feeds her and takes her temperature. She licks his finger and sits on his lap, making him sexually aroused. Before he leaves, she asks about the flame spirit that appeared during the battle, as Kurumi knocked her out before at that point, but he tells her he was also knocked out. She explains that fire spirit killed her parents 5 years ago, and all she has done till this point is so she can kill that spirit. This spells some kind of trouble for Kotori. Captain Kusakevi comes to see Origami. She's happy Origami is getting discharged the following day and tells her of new equipment incoming, and that she can take an extra day off. Rin and the vice commander agree that the water park is the best location for Shido's date with Kotori. Shido, Toka, and Yoshino go to the lingerie shop where Toka picks a bra and asks about it. Origami shows up from nowhere and says they are an anti-spirit gear. Origami tells them she came to talk with Toka. She asked about the fire spirit. Toka doesn't say anything significant, so Kotori is safe for now. The girls somehow get into a contest of who would impress Shido and make the prize a date with him. The vice commander shows Shido clips from the Great Fire 5 years ago. He sees something strange in the footage and tries to recognize the being standing beside Kotori, but for some reason while staring he gets knocked out. Kotori meets Shido, and they are about to leave for their date when Toka and Yoshino join them. They all get into their bikinis and get ready to have fun. Shido sees Kotori but does not want to be turned on by his little sister. Rin advises him to give a nice compliment, but she sees through the compliment and knows it was a suggestion from Rin. An emergency alarm goes off in his ear, but it's only Yoshino crying and creating an ice boulder because Yoshino gets into the water and gets wet. They all said to have some food, but while the others eat and talk, Kotori takes a break to the restroom. She goes to meet Rin, who had already dosed her heavily with medication so she can be active. She requests some more medication so she can complete the date. Shido follows her and sees it all. Rin spots him and tells him to pretend he saw nothing. When she returns, he tells her to go with him to the amusement park. He prefers the amusement park to the water park. At the garrison, Captain Kusakabe shows Origami the new gear brought in. She asks if it has enough firepower to kill Elfrite, which is the fire spirit. Kusakabe mentions the video and Origami requests to watch it. She sees Kotori and has now identified her enemy. Shido takes Kotori to the amusement park, but she resists, insisting he tells her why. He tells her a guy cannot go to the amusement park once he is in high school. He cannot go with his male friends or with his parents, and the only excuse is to go with his girlfriend. Sinking deep, the statement makes Kotori blush and agree to go with him. He tricks her into getting on the roller coaster ride by telling her she is too scared to get on it. Rin and the vice commander are optimistic that their plan will work. Shigo and Kotori visit several toys while having fun. At the water park, Toka and Yoshino go through the jungle cruise. In the end, Taka asks questions and wants to find Shido and Kotori, but Yoshino tells her to rather leave them alone. She overheard Rin telling Shido about Kotori and explained it all to Taka. They finally decide to let Shido handle it and trust in his abilities. The new special raid equipment at the garrison goes missing. The commander recalls Origami's question and knows she must be the culprit, notwithstanding the risks that come with using the technology. After an exciting day at the amusement park, Shido and Kotori sit and take a rest. Shido then tries to ask a question about 5 years ago, but before he can finish, Origami encases him in a shield and blasts at Kotori to kill her. She doesn't go down that easy and summons her armor, Elohim Gyabor. Seeing her fire spirit form sends Origami into a rage, and she lets it out in missiles and bullets. Toka hears the blast from the water park and wants to go protect Shido, but Yoshino stops her, telling her their powers are still sealed inside Shido, and that they would not be of any help in the battle, as the explosions tell that it is no ordinary enemy. Toka insists on joining the fight and says she cannot leave Shido all alone. Yoshino asks Yoshino if she can also join the battle, and Yoshino agrees, so they both hurry to the amusement park to help Shido. Origami blasts Kotori, but she defends herself. Kotori has used up too much power, almost drained. Origami tries to exploit the chance, but Kotori strikes back. Kotori sends Origami down, and while on the ground, Origami directly blames Kotori for the death of her parents. This throws Kotori off. She tries to explain, but Origami seizes the moment to attack her and line her up for the finishing blow. Shido gets in the way and tries to stop Origami, but she is focused on killing Kotori, even if she has to hurt him. Just as Origami is about to pull the trigger, Taka cuts to her cannon and Yoshino uses ice on the other. They interfere in the battle, telling Yoshino to take Kotori and run while they hold Origami back. He takes Kotori to a corner and, with a little space of time, stirs her emotions, tells her he loves her, and kisses her. This brings back the memory of what happened 5 years ago and seals Kotori's power in Shido. Origami overpowers Toka and Yoshino and comes to finish off Kotori. Shido tells her to kill him instead, since she wants revenge against Elfried, and Elfried is not trapped in him. Already weak from the use of the special gear, Origami breaks down and loses the suit, but she still tries to point a gun at Shido. She eventually runs out of gas and passes out. Back at the ship, Rin apologizes for putting Shido through the stress of the date. Apparently, Kotori's love level for him had always been at the maximum and had never dropped. But that Kotori was eagerly looking forward to the date. Healthy and back to work, Kotori finally remembers the spirit from 5 years ago and wants further information on it. Yoshino thanks Toka for coming to help him. The movie ends with an interrupted kiss, sending us into the second season.